Good morning, folks. Everything new under the sun. I've kind of heard enough about the power outages in the U.S., the rolling blackouts that they're having there. This article, this is from Zero Hedge. I think at this point, everybody can agree that something's going on. There's some sabotage. There's seems to be some coordinated sabotage on the U.S. grid. Now, this hasn't happened on the Canadian grid yet, but of course, Canada doesn't have any specific direct interaction in Ukraine exactly right now. And if Russia was going after anybody, it would be after the U.S. As of course, we've seen lots of mysterious explosions in Russia, power plants, oil and gas stations, pipelines, of course, the Crimean Bridge, Nord Stream pipeline, sabotage, all these things. And it doesn't seem like Russia has been retaliating. Well, have you noticed an increase, obviously, in things like power outages and other weird things, cyber attacks, spam, even, and things like that, and that could very well be influenced by Russia on the U.S. For sure, they're going to be doing some cyber attacks. The Russians, the military specifically, not the Russians themselves, but the Russian military is absolutely going to be poking, prodding digitally via cyber, by cyber attacks, cyber warfare, the American internet and resources and infrastructure, etc. Well, come to find out, Christmas Day, that this is brand new, three power substations attacked in Washington. Now, is this just copycat? Are there a whole bunch of people who are just copying everybody else and it has nothing to do with Russia? It doesn't quite make sense, to be honest. This has never happened before. What would be the interest in people all of a sudden doing copycat attacks? This makes more sense that it's, in fact, some coordinated attack on a U.S. infrastructure, similar to what the U.S. Apparently seems to be doing in Russia. Increased sabotage incidents on the U.S. power grid are very concerning. On Christmas Day, three substation facilities were vandalized in Pierce County. Again, I think someone's prodding and poking at the grid and seeing where the easiest points to take down are. So it's interesting, and maybe it should be a warning. And I'm sure the U.S. government isn't really talking about this that I've seen in news reports, but I suspect the U.S. military is all over this, and they know what's happening here. Two of the power substations were operated by Tacoma Public Utilities, and one by Puget Sound Energy. The sheriff department said all three were attacked, but there are no motives, or if this was a coordinated attack on power systems. So they're saying they don't know, and they don't know the motives. If it was some random local yokel in the back of his pickup truck or something, they would have the guy. They would know the motives. They would have all the background, all the digital detail and history of the person. The fact that that's not coming out indicates that maybe there's something more deliberate here. The sheriff's office said nothing was stolen from substations, while equipment was only vandalized. No mention of what devices were damaged or the tool to inflict the damage. So they're not even saying, well, it's guns this time. The first one that came out was that they shot a bunch of transformers up. They had some big guns, and it was a drive-by shooting, if you will, against the transformers in the original attack. But now they're not even saying it. They're keeping it all secret. So when they keep it secret, that means something else is going on. Unfortunately, the impacts to our system from today's deliberate damage are more severe in some places than initial testing indicated. Some customers will be restored closer to 8 a.m., said the Tacoma Public Utility. The Tacoma substation attacks followed deliberate attacks on two power substations in North Carolina earlier this month. Duke Energy found personnel found bullet holes in transformers. So the question is asked, who is intentionally sabotaging, and the words intentionally is used there, who intentionally is sabotaging U.S. power grid? In the first 8 months of the year, there were 106 attacks on the electrical grid, the highest number ever recorded in a single year. Now, it makes sense that there would be some random people, some people who don't like the government, maybe drunk, whatever, driving by, shooting things up, and so there would be some sabotage or vandalization on substations. But this is 106 attacks apparently. They don't know who it was, what the motive was. That means it's not just some random drunk guy driving around shooting these things up. So this is significant, and I think it will come out that, in fact, this was basically Russia prodding, poking holes, sending a warning. I'm sure U.S. intelligence knows all about this. So this is the article that came out on the 24th, and there was an update. I believe it was today. Utilities impose rolling blackouts as U.S. power grid in emergency amid cold blast. Now, the power grid outages, the rolling blackouts right now are blamed on the cold weather that is freezing the U.S. I mean, it's convenient. But I wonder if there's something more to the picture. I wonder if this is at least used as a partial cover-up for maybe some of the other substation attacks that are happening. And they're trying to fix them up as soon as possible. And the excuse is that the cold weather is there and everybody's trying to use a lot of electricity. Well, there's also apparently terror attacks happening against these substations, and that could very well be a large part of this. It says Con Edison is asking 1.1 million natural gas, 3.5 million electric and steam customers in New York City metropolitan region to conserve energy due to frigid weather. Now, of course, they don't say anything about attacks on the any substations anywhere, but you got to ask the question: is that part of it? So this is a tweet from Con Edison. We are urging customers to conserve energy due to frigid weather and increased demand on interstate pipelines that bring natural gas. The reason we're also taking other steps, such as utilizing other sources of natural gas in order to serve our customers. And it talks about the various electrical grids as well, and the mix. And of course, what they're saying as well, it's the forecast, it's the cold weather, and that may be part of it. That may be a large part of it. This is from Georgia. Georgia is in rolling blackout stage of cold. Oops, I don't want to go there. It says where did it go? Here we go. Okay. Where was that? Let's see. Back to the tweet. Come on. Where is it here? I don't know where it went now. Anyways, it was right there somewhere. Fair enough. Anyways, there's rolling blackouts, and I think it's interesting, to say the least. All right, over in North Korea, South Korea. This is interesting. North Korea has sent drones into South Korea. This is another front of all the wars that are happening. Russia, Ukraine, China, Taiwan, Israel, Iran, which has been going on for a long time. Now North Korea is stepping it up against South Korea. South Korea scrambles jets, fires warning shots after North Korea flies drones across the border. December 26th. This is picking up. One thing you got to realize is that if larger nations are going to battle or going to trigger something shortly, they may ask countries like North Korea and pay them a bunch of money. They may ask them to flare something up, war or trigger something to distract people from what's actually going on. In this case, one might think it is a China that is asking North Korea to trigger something, to flare something up, to distract them from maybe what they're doing with Taiwan, or maybe distract the world away and get their attention on something other than Russia, Ukraine. But interesting that North Korea is doing that now and really poking South Korea in the eye. And I'll leave it there. And this is a battle, and this is, a war front. This is a theater that could, again, flare up at any time. North Korea is very belligerent against South Korea, and there absolutely could be a war there at any time. So we have so many theaters of war happening right now. They're increasing. In Chinese news, What's happening there? Well, maybe China has told North Korea to do something on South Korea because they want the world to. They don't want the world's attention to be on what's happening there. So they've removed a lot of the COVID restrictions, and now COVID is just rampaging through the Chinese population. Millions upon millions of people are infected, and there's a lot of significant flu actually going around where I am. It's abnormal. It is well above what is normal, and people getting infected twice, getting sick twice. After 2 weeks of being sick, you getting sick again. There's something strange going on, something strange going around. A lot of people are getting sick right now. But we heard these stories about crematories being overrun in the initial days and phase of the pandemic, where China actually went and built massive hospitals in the matter of days to deal with the potential spread of what was known as COVID, the coronavirus at the time, or the mysterious virus. And there was news coming out of China about the crematories being overrun. And this is mainstream media news now. This happens to be Zero Hedge, but this is coming out of China. Crematories overrun in Beijing's southeastern district, burning 150 bodies daily. And this is because they're letting it go. Basically, they're letting everybody get sick in China. So, what was considered fake news or conspiracy news then is now basically mainstream media about what's happening in China. So, it's incredible. We'll see what comes of the illness in China. Once they're all better, they're going to start consuming energy, natural gas, oil like crazy as they start spending money again as they get back to work. And that's really going to spike the price of energy and food and everything else once they get through this. So look for that in the coming days as China gets up back on its feet, manufacturing, and we'll see how that affects the supply chain, etc. But they're going to start consuming a lot of resources once they're all back on their feet. So that's kind of the current news that I want to update you on, and as it relates to Bible prophecy, uh, I think in these, I think 2023 is a turning point. A lot of people are saying it is. I think we'll see. I think we'll start feeling the pain of what has been building up, the supply chain issues. I think we're all wearing down our resources. We're all spending any savings that we had. We're all using up any prepper food that we've kind of saved up because of hard times. We can't afford as much, so we're dipping into what we've saved. We're dipping into what we've stockpiled, stored, etc. And over this next year, if we can't replenish that, and with the economy going the way it is, then there's going to be trouble, and everybody's going to be in a state of need at that point. So the famine is going to show itself going into next year as the fertilizer is less, people have less stored up because we used it all this winter. There's less trees, to burn. Maybe even with, especially in the East Coast with Fiona going through, knocked over a lot of trees that would otherwise have been for harvesting over the next several years. So there's going to be a decrease even in, wood for heating, let alone the increased price in oil. And everybody's going to be jumping into wood heat. So that means the demand is going to increase and the supply is already decreased because of what Fiona knocked down, at least again on the East Coast. So it doesn't matter what you do. All energy is going to be increasing as people look for alternatives and the supply decreases. So be prepared, folks. And I would suggest that continue to look for these things. Look for stories of grid attacks. I think this is coming from Russia. I think Russia is going to ramp up all this sort of terrorist activity, and the government's not going to tell you. They're not going to want to scare people. But I suspect there's going to be more of this in the next couple of months, especially as the Patriot missile system heads into Ukraine and war. We're in the middle of World War III, and so there's asymmetric attacks happening, terrorist attacks, covert attacks on both sides, and the governments aren't telling the citizens so that the citizens don't panic. So be prepared, folks. Keep your eyes wide open. Know that these things aren't normal, and we shouldn't normalize them either. You need to be prepared for anything and everything. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.